Welcome to the Experience Gap, the insight shop to the rescue where we turn standout customer moments into playbooks for businesses. Each week, we bring you real stories of experiences that delight customers, highlight the moments that matter, and equip businesses with strategies to consistently wow the people they serve. I'm Kate Complin, the owner of the Insight Shop. I created this podcast to give customers a voice, to share not just their frustrations, but also the experiences that went wonderfully right, in hopes that companies will listen, learn, and take action. Your customers are your most important asset, and their positive stories hold the blueprint for better experiences. Joining me today is Alex Schreiber, a customer experience consultant at the Insight Shop. Alex, it's great to have you on my podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kate.
Alex is going to be asking me questions in this podcast about a positive customer experience I had recently at Luther Brookdale Volkswagen.
Kate, tell me about your positive experience purchasing your vehicle at Luther Brookdale Volkswagen. What happened and how did it make you feel as a customer?
In March, I realized that I needed to purchase a vehicle the day I flew from South Carolina to Minnesota. And I had a specific vehicle in mind. I did a lot of AI research and really felt confident that I knew what vehicle I wanted to purchase. I started by calling Pocket Auto. I've purchased 6 cars there. I really like it. The experience has been really great. I called the sales guy there, talked through what I needed, what my expectations were, and he basically said, "Let's talk closer to the date." And when I had sent him some emails and didn't really hear from him. So I went to Maury's Mazda because I had purchased a couple Mazdas there and wanted to talk to my sales guy and told him my situation. Flying in a certain date, wanted this type of car. He said, okay, we'll look out for things. Let's wait closer to the date because we don't hold used cars. Then I started calling around to other Volkswagen dealerships. And in St. Louis Park, they told me, well, if you find a vehicle, let us know. And I thought, well, that's not the best customer experience. And so I had reached out to Inver Grove Heights Volkswagen, and the woman there was fantastic. She listened to my story, she understood my needs, she went on the lookout for a car. Well, as the months went by and the day got closer, Inver Grove Heights never happened to have a vehicle that I liked. And so I increased my search criteria a little bit and ended up finding the exact car I wanted at the Brookdale Luther Volkswagen. I had filled out an online form, and immediately a salesman called Trey reached out to me asking if he could call me. I said yes. We talked. I told him my situation, what I needed, what I wanted, and some questions I had on the vehicle. Within 5 minutes, he had sent me some pictures and videos of the vehicle answering my questions. And then we hopped back on the phone and talked through, yes, this is the car I wanted, and went through my situation with him. And he said, well, first off, I will be glad to pick you up at the airport when you arrive. And so expect me to be there at that time. I already have put it in my calendar, so I won't forget. And then we talked through some payment options because generally they don't hold a used vehicle, only new vehicles. So we talked through some options, and I had agreed to purchase the vehicle upfront. And so the financing department sent me all of the documents online via DocuSign. It was easy peasy to get everything signed. They were willing to wait the 2 to 3 days it takes to wire money over, and they just made it really easy, really seamless. They did follow up with me multiple times to make sure that I didn't have any questions and that I was satisfied with how the experience went. So it was a great example of putting the customer first.
Kate, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the audience a little bit about what your situation was, because I think that's definitely unique.
Absolutely. I live in South Carolina half the year, and my older son wanted to purchase my current car. My husband is driving back from South Carolina to Minnesota, and I was flying into Minnesota on a very specific day in May and really needed to have a car on that day because I live 2 hours north of the airport. And so, had I not purchased a car, I would have had to either find someone to drive me or Uber a 2 hour car ride. And the next Tuesday, I needed to have my car to give over to my older son. And so it was really a very, very tight window and a very specific time on that date that I needed to access this new vehicle.
Thank you for sharing that. As you think about that experience, what were the key moments that mattered most to you, the points that had to go well, for this to feel like a great experience to you?
Yeah, communication is number one. The other dealerships that I had followed up with before, they just never got back to me. I was the one that was always following up. I was the one that was always checking inventory. Nobody followed up with me to say, "Hey, we have inventory or we have something that might interest you." So not only did they not communicate, but they put a lot of work on me. That was the one moment that really mattered is communication. The second is I'm purchasing not a cup of yogurt. I'm buying a car, which is a really big expense. And I would expect as a salesperson to earn their commission that they would be willing to do some of the background work and some of the follow-up to find a car that met my needs. Those were the 2 moments that mattered most to me.
And were there any other instances in which the salesman really went out of his way to, like you said, earn your business?
Yes, I thought it was great both at the Inver Grove Heights dealership and at the Brookdale dealership where they immediately offered to pick me up at the airport. It wasn't something I asked for, and that was a really unexpected touch. Also, within 5 minutes responding to my online request and immediately answering my questions on the vehicle, sending me videos that made it really easy for me to see and answer my questions. That was really important as well.
Were there any other smaller unexpected touches that made it feel special or memorable to you?
Well, one of the things is the rest of the dealerships were very kind of stuck in the mud on not holding a vehicle for me, regardless if I put money down. So Brookdale coming up with a solution in 5 minutes to figure out a way to get me this vehicle I wanted. That was really special and memorable because a lot of dealerships today, they expect people to walk in the door, wait for a salesman, hop in a car, test drive it, very much the traditional way to buy a car. And these dealerships really need to think about, well, that's not everyone's situation. When we come up with a new situation, how do we work together to come up with a solution that will work for both of us?
Absolutely. Uh, where were the points across the experience where something could have gone wrong, but they handled it so well that it actually reinforced your confidence in them?
Yes, number 1, being willing to hold the vehicle. Number 2, coming up with a situation in which I could purchase a vehicle that made them feel comfortable in holding it for me. Those are the 2 points that every other dealership was not willing to come up with a solution for.
Absolutely. In summary, if you were advising other companies based on this experience with Luther Brookdale Volkswagen, how would you describe the ideal playbook for getting this right the first time?
Listen to your customers. What do they actually need from you? What is their situation? And how can you be flexible and adapt so that you get the sale and your customer walks out happy? If you don't do that, you're going to lose a customer, you're going to lose a sale, and you probably won't just lose a sale for that moment. You may lose a sale in the future as well. Really listening to needs, communicating. Customers don't want to have to constantly be following up. Even if you don't have anything. Inver Grove Heights actually did this quite nicely as Natalie would follow up with me every 3, 4 days and just say, "Hey, I continue to keep my eye out for a particular vehicle you want, and we haven't found anything yet, but I'm confident we're gonna get something that will meet your needs." So just following up, keeping your customer informed, letting them know of the situation, and then being flexible, being adaptable. You don't always have to follow a script, and you don't always have to follow the way things usually are in order to create good experiences that end well both for the client and for the company.
Absolutely. If you were in a room with some leaders in the customer experience space as far as it relates to car dealerships, what are one or two things that you'd tell those leaders that they must do to create an experience and make it special like the one that you had?
Coming from the retail side, in my career, I would say shoppers are omni-channel shoppers. It's not about just going into the dealership. And not only that is very easy to find cars online across not only dealerships, but new models that are coming out every day, like Carvana and others, where you can just look online, find a vehicle that you like, purchase it outright right then and there, and have it delivered to your home. If they want to keep up with how the auto industry car sales are evolving, they need to think about the full omni-channel experience and not just what is the experience when someone's going to walk in my door.
Kate, thank you for sharing your story. I'll leave you with this. So, what's the lesson in this story? For Kate, it was not just about finding the right car, it was about finding the right person and the right experience. She had reached out to dealerships where she had history, places where she had purchased cars before. But in this moment, when she had a very specific need, a specific timeline, and a little bit of logistical complexity, the difference came down to who made it easy. Trey and the team at Luther Brookdale Volkswagen did four things very well. One, they responded quickly. Two, they listened to the situation. Three, they took action without making her do all of the work. And four, they found a way to say yes, even when their normal process could have easily led to a no. That is the part every business should pay attention to. Customers remember the moments when someone removes friction. They remember when someone follows through. They remember when someone makes them feel like their situation matters. And sometimes that is the difference between a company that almost gets the business and a company that wins the customer. In this case, she was ready to spend $25,000 to $30,000 on a vehicle. She did not need a grand gesture. She just needed responsiveness, problem solving, and a little bit of common sense. And honestly, when a customer is flying in from another state to buy a car, offering to pick them up from the airport is not just good service, it is customer experience with heated seats. At the Insight Shop, we help companies look under the hood of their customer experience to find what is creating friction, slowing things down, or causing customers to stall. If you are ready to shift your customer journey into Drive, let's talk.
Thank you, Alex, for interviewing me about my positive customer experience with Luther Brookdale Volkswagen, the moments that matter most to me, and my blueprint for how more companies can create experiences like this. And thanks to our listeners for tuning into the Experience Gap, the Insight Shop to the rescue, helping businesses turn great experiences into everyday reality, one story at a time.